Okay. I hope you guys can hear us. If we should be ready, we should be live. Thank you so much for coming back and stuff. If you can hear us, let us know in the comments, please. I just want to make sure. But we should be live. Everything should be good. And I see that we're broadcasting audio, so I think we're okay. I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. So welcome to the Stream of Truth. I am Dr. Tassel Faith Shanebrook.
And I'm Sean Kelly.
And today we are talking about why you won't get what you want from your partner.
Yeah, basically why why we.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you for telling us. Sorry about that.
Thank you for telling us. You are awesome.
That wasn't embarrassing.
We might have gone through 60 or 75 minutes talking without any
without realizing. Yeah.
So you saved us. Thank you so much. You are so awesome. Yeah, so we started off, I said that this topic seems like it's kind of bleak.
Yeah. You guys couldn't hear us, but we already had some thoughts on it. So I'm trying to remember exactly what we said. But yeah, bleak. And I was sort of saying that it is a little bit bleak. It's a little. It's kind of like realizing that we talked a bit about grieving dreams and stuff last week, but it's sort of like realizing that you're gonna need to let go of some of the things that you want out of your partner, like let go of so much of the hold. And yeah, Mercury retrograde, exactly. But there's this need for us to, like, the reason we're sort of being unsettled and uncomfortable because our partner's not doing something we'd really like them to do is because we're meant to, like, learn how to be okay without needing that so much. It doesn't mean we don't prefer it still, but we're supposed to let go of the yearning for that. And so there's a bleak part of it because we have to go through, usually we feel pain as we let go of that. Then it becomes more peaceful. And then usually there's shifting that happens in the other people too. So it's, it's bleak. It has a good outcome usually, but it's kind of counterintuitive as well.
Yeah. I say this a lot on a lot of different streams that we do, that I had this whole dream that I would meet my life partner, and then he would kind of be, I guess, a bit of a knight in shining armor and just make everything perfect for me in my life, and sort of fill in the gaps in my being. And what seems to actually happen is that you reflect back to me my own shadow, my own wounding, which is really helpful. And then I'm able to heal it, expand it myself.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt.
It feels like a pain in the butt.
Because it sounds also like we're saying, like, I'm trying to hear it from the stance of someone that hasn't explored this idea before, but it sounds kind of like we're saying that you just don't need to want anything. Like, it's not okay to want anything.
From your partner?
From your partner, mm-hmm. or to want anything to change. That's, like, not okay. And I just wanted to say that's not quite, at least not what I don't think we're trying to say that. Mm-hmm. It's more like letting go. It's holding the desire or the preference while releasing the lack of it, like, as a problem. That's the best way I could try to describe it in my words, is like, you know what you like and what you don't like as much. And really what it is accepting that when it's the way you don't like it, you're okay then too. Yes. That's really where we're trying to get, I think.
And that's basically what we talked about on Monday when we were talking about our long distance relationship. That's basically what we were talking about, that we have our preferences for what we would like, but making peace with what is.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's part of what we're challenged to do, is try, a lot of our paths, we're put into these various turmoils, and then
So
we have
fun.
to learn how to make peace with it,
With our turmoils.
with the turmoil. We have to be
Yeah.
able to sit in all of the chaos that we feel, that's very real to us, and just be okay and find peace in that chaos.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to do that, but I think we're suggesting that is
the invitation
that's sort of, the invitation
for our expansion.
for our expansion. And also the good thing about that is when you've done that in enough areas, not a lot of stuff
will come in.
Yeah, and if it does come in, it's not so like, it's almost like nothing happened. I've mentioned before, but I ran into a car, and it was I was really proud of myself because I was like, oh, felt bad a little bit that I was driving my parents' van, taking my son somewhere, and I just backed slowly into a car. It was nothing major, but I did damage both cars a tiny bit.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, well, like I really, I knew for somehow that it was important that happened. And I knew it was fine. Everything was fine. I know old me would have freaked out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's why I was happy about how I handled it.
Yeah.
And it can sound sort of like indifference, right? It sounds kind of like you just ran into this guy's. We put the note on the car and with all the contact information, all that stuff. So it could sound like I'm saying I don't care if I make a mistake at all. And that's not quite it. It's more like you notice the mistake very thoroughly. Like, I know exactly what I did wrong there. I was trying to talk to my son about a music choice, that we were trying to pick music. And so I was talking to him about music while I was slowly backing out of the driveway. And I had checked for cars, but I didn't check the rear.
Yeah.
And there was a car parked illegally, like behind where the driveway was.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to park there. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is not about parking. This stream. But so my point though is that it feels very unnatural to us because it feels like we're ignoring, in my case, my error. Like we're taught almost that when we're not in peace, that it's a problem. So we're taught that, but we're also taught that when we make a mistake, we have to be hard on ourselves about it. Otherwise, we're not going to learn it. We're taught that like we can't just notice the mistake. That all that really matters is that you know what the mistake was. And for me, it was my distraction with my son. I should have been paying much more attention to backing up. I was paying, not as much attention as I should when I'm backing up, especially with my child in the car.
Yeah.
So the important thing isn't like there's no value in the other side of it where we notice the mistake and then we start, attacking ourselves about it. There's no value from the repercussion. We're sort of taught that like consequence informs our, like if you do something, then you're punished. That's what we're kind of taught as we grow up.
Yeah.
Right? But punishment doesn't enforce better behavior. It just enforces fear, which is constrictive behavior.
Yeah. And sort of feeling bad about ourselves, which doesn't ever seem helpful.
It's never helpful.
So maybe just bringing it back to this specific topic, would it be helpful maybe for each of us to share some of the things that we do seem to have preferences about, and then how we're sort of managing that with each other and in ourselves? Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Okay. So, it feels a little vulnerable to share this.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
but
is.
But that's what gets me excited about sharing things.
I keep forgetting the camera's up here.
Oh, where should we be looking? Up there? Oh, we should look up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I noticed in myself that I really crave from my partner, I would say adoration.
Yeah.
I crave to be adored. I crave to be kind of smothered in love and affection and like sweetness and like love notes or little sweet thing. I crave that. And when I think about maybe the origins of that, my dad growing up, bless his heart, he's a wonderful man. He had a very difficult childhood, and I think is a bit emotionally shut down. So he wasn't really present emotionally for me in my life, really. Although as an adult, things shifted a bit, which was really great. But anyway, I think, and I noticed growing up, I was always very, very jealous and envious of daddy's girls, like girls who had really seemed like their dad paid attention to them, basically. Right. I was so envious of that. It was always like very painful for me to see that. And I think I had this idea of, oh, eventually when I'm grown up and I have a husband or a partner, like I'll be like a daddy's girl. I'll have that just like sweet, loving,
like kind of
doting, affectionate male presence, which I've really longed for my whole life.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I want to jump in here if you don't mind, and just say this is not a quality that I have in abundance where I'm very outward with that, and so that's part of the point of our video, I think, is a lot of times some of these things that we really like want, we end up being more really attracted to a partner that doesn't have some of them, so I think I've gotten better.
Yeah, I think
I've gotten better, but this aspect isn't so natural to me. And so I have to, in order for me to sort of help serve Tassel and be better, more harmonized with her, I have to recognize what her desires are in the relationship and try to expand so that I can step out of my comfort zone and bring her more of that. And then, and on the other side of that, she has to step out of her comfort zone a little bit and accept that I'm just not quite what she'd want in that area, right? Yet. And that maybe I'll get there, but maybe, I'm fine how I am, and try to, hold both. And so in that way, that's how we end up like expanding.
Yeah, and I want to pause and say it was really sweet how, as I was describing my preference, you put your hand on my leg.
See, I'm learning.
That was really sweet.
I'm a genius.
Thank you. That was very sweet. Yeah, and so what you just said, I agree with, and what I feel my expansion is, I'm just going to kind of repeat what you just said, is full unconditional acceptance of you as you are, as being perfect the way you are, and still holding my preference, not abandoning my truth about that. I'm going to hold, I do really like to be adored. And then at the same time, as within, so without, how can I adore myself? How can I show myself what I'm seeking on the external? And it's kind of, I don't know, it seems a little funny to me. Like, how can I adore myself? It sounds like funny, but I've been, I think, expanding on that. And I'll just maybe give a few examples of how I've been adoring myself. This is an example. Like, okay, I don't know if anyone else has this experience, but sometimes maybe if you're thinking about the person you really love and a song comes on the radio while you're driving, and then you're singing it and you're thinking about that person and how great that person is. So instead of doing that, sometimes a song will come on the radio and I just think about how great I am.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And just like singing the song to myself. And I just notice almost just physically just turning the energy that I would have been sending out to maybe you, for instance, and just kind of boomeranging it back to myself. Like, how can I adore myself? How can I love myself? How can I show myself affection? Mm-hmm. And another aspect of this that has come up so much in my own guidance is, like, it sounds a little tit for tatty, but it's the idea of a like equitable energy exchange. in my relationships. And I notice that I tend to just want to like give everything. I'll just like give all my energy away a lot of the times, with my children, with clients, maybe with partners. And a lot of my guidance recently has just been that phrase, like equitable energy exchange. Just just being aware of like a give and take and a reciprocity in all my relationships. And I think that's a rebalancing for me.
Yeah,
In that.
that's an interesting one. Yeah, I think we'll all feel called to do different things in that area about service, self-service, and how we love ourselves and how we show up for ourselves, and then how or how we're called to ignore ourselves to then usually create a sort of imbalance that we have to address. So that I think we'll go through different stages of this type of thing as we explore balancing that. So I think for me, I went on an extreme for a period of time of paying like too much attention to what I wanted, and then went the other way. And so I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't do that. Of course, we both. I think I've gone both ways, like kind of throughout at different times, and it's like a pendulum kind of swinging.
Yes.
And trying to learn the balance of like how can I take care of myself while still being there, because I still do want to give my energy to other people, and I'm sure you do too, right? I still do want to do that. I like it. I like being able to do that. It's the problem is that I do it too much, and then I'm a little drained, and then I feel like I'll usually feel like not just maybe disrespected, but not appreciated because I don't get back what I'm giving out, right? So it feels imbalanced. But part of the thing for me was I realized that the reason it feels imbalanced and that I'm feeling bad about it is that I'm keeping track. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to keep track so much, that I don't have to score it so much.
Right.
Like, I did 3 nice things and they did 1.
Yeah,
like
that feels.
And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing. I just mean that I was doing that, and a little bit, not, and it was like kind of really subconscious, like not, it wasn't something very clear to me, but I was realizing that I was giving values to interactions, and then like mathematically trying to tally up the bill and making sure I've paid my bill. And then if I've given them more and they haven't returned, then they're not paying their bill, sort of. Like, that's sort of how my psyche was arranged for a time. And I think a lot of people are like this, they're just not aware that it's happening. And that, I realized for me, was to, like, I could let go of that. And now I don't have that assessment that happens of like, am I giving too much? And so now I don't have any pains internally around feeling like I've over exhausted, because I'm not even like
keeping score.
I'm not even keeping score. But I think it's important. Basically, if we are having issues with it and we are feeling over, then there's something to be explored there, anyways, right? So it's just an interesting topic.
What about you? Would you share what you crave and how it turns up with me and how you handle it?
Yeah. With you. So I think the only thing that I can think of that I still have a bunch of distortion about is probably acceptance, judgment, like criticism. And so you are not overtly judgmental or critical, but I'm able to, unfortunately, I can see all of the potentials of like what someone means when they speak. And sometimes I see the potential that is judgmental, like what they mean, what they're expressing, like what they mean to be saying, can come across to me as judgmental because of my own distortions, right? And so what happens is I have this deep craving for acceptance that I can never find Because no matter what anyone says, like so basically Tassel can be like, oh, I went here today and it was great. I went with my friend and it was fun. And I can take that as you're not fun enough.
Okay.
Because I can see that, like, I can see that some of the patterning that an egoic mind might have to suggest to somebody about their fun day to manipulate them into trying to be more fun. Mm-hmm. Right? So I see that possibility mm-hmm. in consciousness as a potential for that expression.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly having to remind myself that people aren't manipulating me, that they're not, that they mean what they say. And it makes it really hard because I can only really talk to a few, like if I don't feel like I'm being given the truth mm-hmm. from people, I can't even talk to them. I have to at least feel like they're trying to tell me authentic, they may be whatever, but as long as they're trying. But that's what shows up for me. And so I crave to be accepted. Mm-hmm. And so, you're very accepting, but I can't feel it. Like, it's hard to explain. So this is an interesting one because Tassel is an accepting person. Not very judgmental as far as any of that goes. That's what I want. But I can't get it from her because of my own blocks. So it's an interesting dynamic. And so it's important to remember that that's why you won't get it from them, is because you've blocked it. I don't accept myself, basically. Nothing that I do is to me good enough, not acceptable. It's all not quite where I'd like it to be, no matter how far I expand or feel more at peace. It's not enough. There's a part of me, I should say, mm-hmm. that is constantly like that. It's just nothing's enough. And I'm aware of that it's not enough. I'm not good enough. And so it becomes a struggle for me to engage with people because I feel like I'm not meeting their expectations constantly. And so if they say something that then implies that I'm not meeting their expectations, it throws me off a lot. Like, it makes me really hurt, I guess. I feel like, because it's much more strong. It's much more clear that they're saying the way that you are or were wasn't good enough, right? And so because my whole world's framed in this nothing's good enough way, unfortunately, that's just how it is. And I think this is actually, for me, I think this is a like pre-incarnative decision. I think it's a thing that's probably going to persist for most of my days. And I don't want really to believe that. I'd rather believe that I can just let go of that, and maybe I'll get to that place. But it just feels sort of like a thing that I'm meant to sit with. I think what I'm meant to do is accept another's unacceptance. So whether they accept me or not, I accept myself. That's what I'm meant to do. And so I need to basically take the pressure off myself.
So we, in our Namaste method, sort of that we've come up with about communicating with each other and what we see that we're really doing for each other, we talk about this phrase, walking each other home.
Yeah. And
to me, it means you and I helping us come back to ourselves and back to our own self-love and self-acceptance, and of course, like our connection with spirit. And I feel like in both of our examples, that is what ideally is happening. So you have a craving and a desire to be accepted by others. I have a craving and desire to be adored by others. And they're kind of similar. The energy of that is a bit similar. I guess mine's a little more grander in a way. Like, I want to be accepted and adored. But there's similar flavors, right? Of wanting, like, love, really, or similar flavors. And so it feels like what we're both saying is that we may attract partners in, especially in these divine unions or whatever we want to call them, that may not immediately sort of give that to us, but it's beautifully orchestrated so that we see what we really want, and that we turn within and provide that for ourselves.
Yeah, and it's always the universe always follows the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. This is why we're so inclined to do this as humans as well. Like, what's the most easy way? Like, sometimes we'll have other pressures that change our directions.
Yeah.
But what's the most easy way tends to be the way that the universe works. And
like, so what's the easiest way to help
so
this precious being expand?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can think of it that way, is that the easiest, the most gentle way that they could try to help me expand, that I say is like our higher selves.
Yeah.
Right. In tandem, like working together, sort of.
Yeah.
The easiest way is to pair me with someone who really does accept me, but has some expressions that will trigger this in me a bit, but ultimately really accepts me and is very safe.
Right.
And so that I'm able to get triggered a bit, but work on it, get triggered a bit, and work on it in a safe way.
Right.
Because otherwise I wouldn't work on it at all, because I don't trust anyone really. So I get to a place, I can only get so far with a relationship unless I trust. And so I have to get more and more trusting.
And if we're just single and on our own, we wouldn't really see these relational shadows.
Yeah, if we're single and on our own, that's what's meant for. That may be hard to hear, but that's what's meant for that time.
Yeah,
right?
For that time.
It doesn't mean you can't find a partner, but usually when you're alone, it is the universe asking you, giving you the opportunity to basically sort of like try to think of it as like, I'm going to heal as much as I can on myself, so that when the right partner shows up, I'll be up to snuff, right? Like, I'll feel better.
Ready.
Right. And it's part of our longing for the partner and thinking it's going to fix everything and stuff that is a little confused, that the universe is like, I hear you, but you're not making any sense right now. You're not making any sense right now. I hear your pain and stuff. That's kind of how the universe is seeing that. It's almost like a child that's like, you've given them 4 cookies, and then they're like, I want more, and you're like, it's almost dinner time. Like, we've got a nice meal coming. You gotta keep some room for your meal, right? Like, I don't know, and they just know better as the loving parents that are observing the child throwing a tantrum, and that's, I think, the closest way. It's like adorable but sad, but when
I think about what we're talking about in my own journey, so I separated from my ex-husband about 5.5 years ago, and so before I met you, for maybe 4 years or so, the invitation was to do a lot of inner work. I was by myself a lot, and I knew a huge thing was self-love. I knew that I didn't really have self-love. I didn't really know what that meant. I think I'm still figuring out what it means, to be honest. And so I think on my own, I did a lot of work around self-love. And now being in relationship with you, I can see that the invitation is just to go a lot deeper with that. I thought, oh, I have self-love covered. I have it. I got it. But in relationship with you, still there's shadow aspects there that so
interesting.
Yeah, and it is like the thinking mind can think, oh, there's something wrong here in the relationship because I love myself and it feels like I'm not maybe getting exactly what my ideal was, so maybe there's something wrong with the relationship.
Right.
But I think the truth is it's always as within, so without. So if something is showing up in the relationship, it's something that's within me, within my own energy. And I do notice that when I bring my energy back to myself and I'm more self-loving, it feels like that shows up externally.
The universe wants you to be self-loving, confident, and passionate about learning the lessons.
Yes.
That's the ideal student,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of what they want. So if you're happy in doing that, that's preferable to you being sad in doing that.
Yeah.
Right? So the universe is always trying to correct that. Yeah, I love that. And then also I wanted to say, what I've noticed happens is in me, what I perceive as myself expands also. Mm-hmm. So as I'm trying to expand my love of myself, what I see as myself is also expanding. And because the goal being, if our goal is to, and this is my goal, and it's not necessarily a goal I suggest for anyone. It's actually probably a more challenging goal that I probably wouldn't recommend this goal at this stage, but is seeking to sit in unity consciousness all the time. Mm-hmm. It's available, and what that means though is that the self is all. So you love all, which means you love everything. The dog the dog poop you stepped in, mm-hmm. like on the way to work that ruined your new shoes that you just bought or were just given to you by a shaman or something that you love. All whatever it is, it's you and you love it, and that is a Christ stance. That is a Christ-like state, right? And to hold that state, you have to learn the lessons of the human identity love for a bit first. Learn the lessons of love of this identity, and then learn the lessons of loving the others as if they are this identity, and then that will kind of expand into, oh, there is no separation of identity. I love all, and it's I think it's that like a really nice expansion into unity that we do. Like, first of all, we find unity in ourselves, mm-hmm. more or less. As you accept parts of yourself, you're kind of like bringing more parts of yourself into your heart, right? And then you accept yourself fully, and then you start to realize that the universe is me, and then accept all that craziness too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the lessons get I think
bigger, grander.
I don't know if that. I think what happens is, at least for me, I've been really lucky. Again, path of least resistance. Most of my lessons are in the very small. Like, I have to be paying lots of attention to have lessons mm-hmm. now, because I don't get rattled as easily. So, mm-hmm. so I have to really be looking and paying close attention. And so it's like little things that trigger me. That's why. So that's one of the reasons that we become more sensitive too, as we like wake up and stuff. And we may express that more or not, but we inside become more sensitive, because we're noticing just everything and looking for the lesson.
The more subtle lessons.
And in the lessons mm-hmm. there's usually pain or discomfort, right? So we're like looking for it a little bit mm-hmm. to make sure we can, navigate it.
Yeah.
And so we can be like sensitive and, but that's part of the problem, is we need to see that mm-hmm. to be able to deal with it in ourselves. So, yeah.
So maybe just as a summary to offer guidance around this topic, like if you're in a relationship, in a partnership where you really feel like you're not getting what you want, our suggestion would be to look at how you're giving yourself what you want or not giving yourself what you want.
Yeah. So, exactly. I would think about the discomfort and try to consider what forms it. Like, what is it? Where did it come from? If you can, try to understand it a little bit. just why do I think about like relationships with your parents, siblings, early relationships, and wonder about your interactions in your family, about how those might have affected this desire. Uh, these are all usually areas of forming of this type of thing, because we build usually our relationship with our parents then sort of forms the basis of all of our relationships
Yeah.
going
It's a
forward, right?
template.
It
Yeah.
makes sense, right? So we set a template of how relationships are supposed to be, and then we also set a template of what our needs are and desires are and stuff in relationships at around that stage. So a lot of times it's just looking to that, but then and it's not to chastise yourself at all. It's just to notice like where I'm sensitive in. It's not there's no problem here. It's just we're just looking at where we're sensitive, and then I would say once you know that, I would say a good nice discussion with your partner in a non-judgmental way, just in a way of I have some stuff that I'm working through around this and this and this. If you have a minute, I'd like to talk it out with you. And then make it very clear, though, that you're not trying to complain about them. And I'm saying this because I'm sensitive to that. So if Tassel comes out of nowhere with that, I'm going to be like, what got her to this? And I'm going to I'm going to Sherlock Holmes it. And I'm going to be like, oh, I'm not offering what she wants. Whether she says that or not, that's what's happening. And I have trouble not seeing that. So,
That's a really good point, is that it feels like it's really healthy and freeing to share what we do crave with our partner in a non-critical, non-judgmental way. It's not like you're not doing this and I have a problem with it. It's I want to share with you that this seems to be a deep preference or deep craving of mine. I think it's related to my childhood and maybe what I didn't get, or whatever you think could be some of the context around it. I love you as you are, and at the same time I seem to have this craving, and at the same time I want to also give it to myself, but just to be really transparent. And you and I last week basically did this. You ended up using that word with me. You said, I really crave acceptance. And you had never shared it in quite that way with me. And then I shared with you, I can see I really crave adoration. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I know when you shared with me that you really craved acceptance, there was a part of me that felt, is he saying I don't accept him? And I thought I was accepting him. And there was stuff that I had to kind of work through with that.
Yeah, that's important. Like that's why I was saying what I said about letting them know it's not about them and stuff first.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do. They're still probably going to have some of that. It's hard not to see if you're looking at it linearly.
Yeah.
Right? Like Tassel's saying, I'm not happy with this so much. And so I'm wanting to let you know about it. So, it's kind of, it's pretty easy to just see that, right? Mm-hmm. And not see that that's not the intention of what she's doing. It's hard and it's also hard to trust someone that that's not their intention just to get what they want. A lot of people just do that, right? That's just the truth.
Yeah.
So you have to have that trust first to be able to really
I think what we're
navigate this.
Advocating is transparency and not grasping or demanding or requiring someone to change, but just being really honest within ourselves about this is the truth. I can see I do have this preference.
And that your partner may also have an experience of it that
could be difficult.
It could be a little difficult for them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's kind of could feel like you're pointing out one of their discrepancies or one of their things they're not as good at as they'd like to be. It could even be something they always wish they'd be better at.
Right.
And stuff. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And for instance, when you shared with me that you crave acceptance, I could see in myself how some of the ways I communicate with you could come across as I'm not accepting you. So to me, it felt like an opportunity for me to just look at the way I communicate around those things and see if I can be more loving and more accepting on my side. So there's so many different layers and invitations and expansions that are possible here.
Yeah, and I think I shared the other day that more and more it's starting to feel like, so as I keep amping up my magical practice and pouring energy into knowing myself as the infinite creator, uh, it starts to get, when people say, I think this is ugly, or I think this is whatever, it feels like they're talking about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, I can feel judged constantly, like just hearing people talk. If they're like especially if they're like authentically agitated about something in the universe, I'm like, why are you talking about me like that? And I have to literally go, oh, they're not talking about me. It's like it's an odd state to be
It's
in.
a byproduct of your unity consciousness.
Right. And, you know, somebody, like, if I was telling this to a doctor and I was in turmoil, they might be like, oh. But, you know, I think it's a stage that is normal. I think I feel this is very normal. And it doesn't cause any real problems.
Yeah.
But it is difficult for me to, like, sometimes discern that people aren't talking about me directly.
Yeah.
And I have to, like, forget. I feel like this is sort of like a puppet show. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm the puppet handler.
Master.
The puppet master guy.
Yeah.
Not that I control all the puppets. I'm not, like, thinking that way.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like I control the puppet Sean. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I forget I'm in a show. I'm in a play of puppets. Mm-hmm. And then I start talking as the master, the puppet master.
Yeah.
And then people are like, whoa. I don't talk as, I hear as.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, why are these puppets talking to me like this?
Yeah.
Why are they saying this about me? I thought we were all in this together. Right? I get confused. So it's an interesting place to be. But it's overall, I find it just kind of humorous. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to complain about it, but
yeah.
and I'm not sure why I brought that up. I think I was trying to say something, but I don't know.
Well, I think you probably brought that up because maybe with me sometimes if it feels I'm saying certain things that I'm not accepting you, and so just some of our
I think I was just
challenges.
I was just trying to say that I start to see it like in every little thing, like people, like every little thing that somebody's complaining about at all, like, or if it sounds like complaining or whatever, it can be difficult for me.
So for me, at least, just to wrap up my feelings, insights about this topic, I just always come back to honoring whatever you're feeling, honoring your own internal experience, being transparent about it with yourself first. Like, oh, you know, I really can see that I do crave this, or I do have this preference relationally, and just accepting it, not beating yourself up about it, not feeling like you have to change. So just honoring, that's one of my favorite words, honoring yourself, honoring your partner, transparency with your partner in a very undemanding, uncritical way. And like just holding all of that all the time, just holding all of that, holding who your partner is, holding where they might be expanding, holding what your preferences are, holding space for you to give to yourself what you crave, and just finding peace in all of that. Just finding peace that it's okay where everything is right now. Maybe it'll shift, maybe it won't. But again, like, I'm okay, and I and my partner, we're both just on this journey of our soul's expansion, and there's no rush. There's no right or wrong. It's all okay.
Yeah. We could feel, it's really easy to feel like we don't have enough time to do things. But if you just consider something like seeing the synchronicity numbers on the clock or something, in each of those, the reason that the clock's used is because it's meant to symbolize the connection. This is my interpretation of the universe's words, I guess, or language, I guess, I should say. So if it resonates, great. But if not, discard it. The universe is sort of using the clock to symbolize divine timing, like basically to say, don't worry. That's why all the numbers are positive. It's don't worry. This is all perfect. This is orchestrated at a level that you have no concept of. The time is managed by us, right? Like the universe. And you will look like to the degree of like your physical eyeballs will look at a number at the right time, the exact moment. It's so precise that that's what the universe is trying to say is like, we are the time. You are the time. So you can't lack your time. It's your time.
Yeah.
It's there. That's what they're sort of trying to say as the overarching or the penetrated goal or mystery of that synchronistic thing. And so, yeah, we feel like we don't have enough time. We put all this pressure on ourselves, and that causes so much of the like rush feeling, like I gotta fix this, because we feel like we don't have enough time, and time's not real. That's why I constantly say that, because it's such a core thing.
And this is a bit related to what you just said in a way, I think, is that more and more for me, what is bringing me peace is, we've called it before the I don't know mind. And now I'm calling it sometimes the not knowing mind. My human wants to know what's happening, what the future is going to hold, how everything is going to play out. My human wants to know that.
How long will it take?
Totally. What's going to happen? My human wants to know so much, wants to know that.
Yeah,
but,
that's tough.
I feel the invitation that I've been getting a lot from the universe is to let go of the need to know and to be comfortable with not knowing. And I've just been using that phrase over and over again. I'm in a not knowing consciousness. I don't know exactly what my future holds in probably every aspect of my life. And I'm on more a day-to-day basis as a hollow bone. I love that phrase from shamanism. I'm just letting spirit flow through me and direct me on a day-to-day basis in everything that I do, and I don't know where it will all lead. But at the same time, I have my preferences and I have my vision and my dreams for my life. But I'm just surrendering to the timing of it and the exact path of it, and just working to be more comfortable in not knowing. And it's uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I found the more we can move into that mind that's comfortable in the uncertainty.
Yes.
The more weird stuff gets too. Like the universe offers you some weird little signals. And they get pretty strange pretty quickly, I found.
Yeah.
It's like you start sort of playing, at least for me, it's been like it feels like my higher self is like playing jokes on the human a little bit. Like, and sometimes they're a little odd, but as I think what I'm trying to say is, as you open up that expansiveness of the I don't know, and that it's a mystery, and start to really appreciate how infinitely how infinitely unique everything is.
Yeah.
The higher self starts to show it's more of itself to you, and it has its own personality.
Yeah.
And you start to get more of in touch with that, and then that becomes this like weird new relationship.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And I get in this phrase a lot, just living in the hands of God. And of course, we are God, God is us. It's sort of one and the same. But that image that I'm I'm living in the hands of God and fully supported and stay in my alignment, and all is well.
Yeah, that's like the most important, one of the most important things. All is well.
All is well.
Yeah.
All is well. All right. Does that seem like a
All is
wrap?
well.
All is well. And thank you so much, Debbie and Angelic
thank you guys.
Sunflame. I've been reading all your comments. They're so right on. And just sending so much love to you and blessings for you and your dreams and the magical unfolding of your lives.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.